Welcome back to Dysfunctional channel. I am your host, Jesus Figueroa at Dysfunctional of Dysfunktional.com, and today I'm going to get to chat with Finding Yingying director Jiayan Jenny Shai. Yingying Zhang, a 26-year-old Chinese student, comes to the US to study. In her detailed and beautiful diaries, the aspiring young scientist and teacher is full of optimism, hoping to also be married and a mother someday. Within weeks of her arrival, Yingying disappears from the campus. Throughout exclusive access to Yingying's family and boyfriend, Finding Yingying closely follows their journey as they search to unravel the mystery of her disappearance and seek justice for their daughter while navigating a strange foreign country. But most of all, Finding Yingying is the story of who Yingying was, a talented young woman loved by her family and friends. Check out my interview with the director, Jenny Shai. Hi there.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me here.
No problem. Congratulations on this. It is completely captivating and informative, and it's amazing to know that this is one of your first projects. When you first started rolling with the cameras, what did you expect to get from this?
Actually, for me, when I first did learn about Ying's disappearance, I was still a journalism student at Northwestern University.
Mhm.
So I went down to Champaign after Ying's family arrived for different reasons. One was definitely, I was a journalism student, so I was curious about what's going to happen and what already happened there. And then because I found out that Ying and we actually went to the same university in China, and that was a huge news among
Mhm.
Chinese international student community. So everyone was just trying to find her, trying to see, what we could do to help the family. So that's how I started to follow the story, and I was thinking, maybe I can start documenting, stuff, what's going on, since there are already a lot of reporters covering the story there. So like in my mind at first I didn't really have an idea about what it's going to be, whether it's going to be a feature film, things like that. I just started filming, so that's how I basically get involved. Yeah.
As the story progresses, you seem to get a connection with the family. How difficult did the story become once that connection started to happen?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the challenges that I had was how to navigate the ethical dilemmas and also navigate my relationship with Ying's parents. Because as someone, like a documentary filmmaker, you are basically documenting what's going on. You are not supposed to be part of the story. But for me, it was really difficult to separate my roles. Like I was volunteer, I'm also documenting what's going on, and sometimes, Ying's mom, especially Ying's mom, she would say, "You really look like my daughter." So for me, I really had a mixed feeling, and I tried to, make the best decision in different like situations. Go back to the like ethical questions. I had questions about whether I was exploiting my relationship with Ying's parents in order to get certain scenes or shots, things like that. And I was very careful about like every shoot I've done. For example, I think when the family first came here, they stayed in the US for 5 months, and I visit them almost every week. But during that time, I would say like 70% of the time I was with them, I was without camera, staying with them. So basically, it was a long process building the trust and also careful about what my role was in that situation.
Mhm. Um, when did you know that there was a bigger story to tell here? Because it seems that it's not just a story about this disappearance, it's a story about how victims don't get the justice they deserve most of the time. So when did you finally like realize that this story was much bigger than what you were documenting?
Yeah, I think there were like several important like incidents happening. I think the first one was like 3 weeks after Ying disappeared. So that was the time the police and the FBI, they announced that Yingying, they arrested the suspect, and they don't believe Yingying is still alive. So for us, I mean, from a perspective of volunteer, and someone just care about Ying's own safety, we just feel like the whole story was going into a totally different direction than we expected before. We really hope she could come back very soon. And then I think all of a sudden, the media attention was really focused on like the crime, the investigation, things like that. And I would say like after maybe 2 or 3 months, there wasn't anything happened in terms of the investigation. You could really see the media attention was going away. And for me, like someone closely stay with Ying's parents, you could really feel that the parents, they were really worried about everyone. No one would really pay attention to them, to Yingying, and they were really afraid that there's no breakthrough, whether the case will be a cold case, things like that. And for me, the more time I spent with Ying's parents, the more I learned about who Yingying was, and I talked to her colleagues, her friends, Ying's boyfriend and brother, and a lot of people. Also, I discovered her diaries. So we realized that she actually had a diary, kept a diary before she went missing during the first 6 weeks when she was in the US. And there was a very powerful line about basically, she said, life is too short to be ordinary. So for me, I just feel like, wow, that's very powerful. And that really made me wanted to know more about who Ying was. So for me, I would say like in late 2017, I started to think about, definitely we are going to keep following the story, but how are we going to tell the story, and what kind of message we wanted the audience to walk away after they watch the film. So that was the time I'm thinking about, the big picture of the film. We don't want to really focus on the crime, on the investigation, and what it's going to be about. So that was the time I started thinking.
Once the trial started and everything changed, what were your thoughts about this, and what did you how did your perspective change on the story?
Um, I would say like at first in 2017, I thought it was gonna be like maybe an investigation or just a pure family journey, searching for their daughter. And in 2018, that was the time we learned that the trial was delayed. It's gonna be happen in 2019, and the family, they decided to go back to China. So I also went back to China, spent time with them, and I got to know more about who Ying was again. So there were a lot of her personal belongings. Like I saw her bedroom, her books, she put there, and also her diaries, more home videos and childhood photos. And these are great materials for me, from a perspective of a filmmaker. I kind of like trying to think about how am I going to utilize all these materials and to really bring to life throughout the whole film. And we didn't really think about what outcome going to be of the trial. We didn't know, but I'm sure that it's going to be a story of who Ying was and the family's journey. And when it came to 2019, the trial, I think we really prepared for, and I would say like different scenarios.
Mhm.
We were prepared for different outcomes. We just decided to keep following like day by day. So I have a cinematographer and the co-producer Shiling Sun. He was actually a student at U of I at that time when the kidnapping first happened, and he was also a volunteer that already helping the family even before I got involved. So basically, it's Shiling and me. We were at the trial and sit through the trial like day by day on a daily basis. And I think after the trial, that was the time we gathered information about what exactly happened to Yingying, and also got interviews from the FBI, the prosecutors, and some witnesses in the court. So in terms of like the crime part, that came really late in production, and in post production, I think we struggled a little bit with how much crime we want to put in the story and how much Ying's story and her family story should be in the film. So we had some like back and forth, and eventually we had a film out
Mhm.
there like this. Yeah.
Um, Were you ever able to get an interview with the suspect? Because it seemed like um there was sometimes that I would wish that I would have heard from him personally, even though there is no justifying what he did. There is no like it's hard to think that it would have helped any to hear from him. But were you ever able to talk to him or get his perspective on stuff?
I think it's really, depends on our intention of making this film, because we didn't really want to give any screen time for him,
Mhm, mhm.
because that was what he wanted. He wanted attention. And for me, I don't know, like legal wise, because we didn't even try. So I don't know legal wise whether it's possible to get him like talk about it, because this film, it is really about who Ying was and their family's journey and the family's journey. There are, I think, reportings, news stories out there, trying to get, interviews or perspective from the defendant's side. So I think someone interviewed his father, so talk about him, as a child, things like that. But for us, I think it's probably unnecessary for the storytelling we wanted to do, and that's why we decided not to approach that way.
Awesome, and you are definitely living your life more than what the ordinary is. You've done an amazing job on this project. Where do you hope things go from here for you?
For me personally, I would say, like, first of all, definitely I hope more people, more audience, can hear about Ying's story and her family story. And we are launching it December the 11th, actually today. So we are really excited. Audience can watch the film at virtual cinemas. You can get information about the ticket and the showtime on our website, www.findingying.com. And right now, I'm also developing some new projects, basically focusing on Chinese American experience and also about China's global influence. For me, as a filmmaker, I always wanted to tell stories that related to my own experience and identity. And also, I really wanted to increase the voice of Asian American communities. So I'm just really happy that I had a chance to tell Ying's story. And from here, people can get a sense of my approach of storytelling and my style. And I think, it's not only helping to, bring my career to another level, it's also somehow can be an inspiration for other emerging filmmakers who wanted to tell story about their own community. And I'm really excited about that. And also, I really wanted to thank my great team and my mentors along the way, because Finding Yingying is my first feature film. I was a journalism student before this, and I didn't have any like filmmaking experience. In 2018, when I was in the middle of making Finding Yingying, I got into the Diverse Voices in Documentary program at Cartunkland Films. That's a program really supporting emerging filmmakers of color and bring resources to us. And through that program, I actually got to know a lot of teammates on my team. I met my producer, Jiayan, and also many great experienced filmmakers, including Gordon Quinn, who actually gave me a lot of guidance on how to navigate like ethical situations, dilemmas. And I'm also very glad that my former professor, Brent Huffman, he came on board as one of the producers after I graduated. So I just feel like I really have a lot of like support and constant support from the community.
And now that you've gathered all these facts and had such an emotional connection to this story, how has that changed your perspective on everything from the way you work to how safe you are in your community?
Yeah, I think for me, I didn't know, because when I first heard about the disappearance, especially when I first saw the civilians footage of Yingying went missing, she got into a stranger's car. That really reminded me of my own experience,
Mhm.
because when I first came here in the US, I had a similar experience that I got into someone's car. But I didn't realize that, that was really dangerous until I saw Ying's image. And now, like I again, I thought about that experience, why I made that decision. I'm just thinking, maybe I was just too kind of like busy with navigating the foreign country, when I first came here, and I was very lonely and homesick. And for Yingying, I'm sure that she was in the similar situation because in her diary, she talked about her feelings. So I'm wondering, how we can better prepare for international students that coming to the US. And me, like I myself, as someone coming here to chase my dreams, what can I do to better prepare myself, and better prepare for my future, if I still decided to like stay here and continue my career. And I think another thing I really think a lot about is my relationship with my own parents. Because for Yingying, she, she works so hard, and she's so important to her own family. And for me, I think like the structure of Ying's family is very similar to like my own family. My parents, they basically kind of like devoted everything, to my life, and they were so supportive of my own decision, and they trusted my decision. Even though they were really worried about me studying abroad, coming to the US, they just let me do whatever I wanted because they trusted me. But sometimes I just feel like I actually need more communication with my parents, even though I didn't want them to worry about like my life here. That's why I decided not to talk too much about the work I'm doing. I'm a journalist here, so sometimes if I talk about like the story I'm covering, my family, my parents, they would really like worry about my life. But now I just thinking, maybe just have more conversations on a daily base, and they will feel, I think they were more like sure about my life here, my safety here. So yeah, that's something I'm thinking about a lot recently.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on this. I think it's an amazing project. I hope the best for you, and I hope to see more stuff coming from you in the near future.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for spreading the word for the film. And we are really excited. The audience can watch the film in theaters now. Yeah.
NTV Documentary Films and Quartem Quinn Film present, in association with Mitten Media and Nika Media, the award contender Finding Yingying, opening December 11th, 2020 in virtual cinemas nationwide. Thank you for checking out my interview with the director Jiayan, Jenny Shai. Find more of my stuff on dysfunctional.com. Follow me on social media at Dysfunctional on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Dysfunctional LA on Facebook, youtube.com/dysfunctional, twitch.tv/dysfunctional, my Reddit r/dysfunctional, and find me on Discord, which is on my social media. Thanks for checking this out once again, and have a good one.